The four states' most watched news starts now.
Wednesday morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It is 5 o'clock. I'm Michael Hayslip. Coming up this half hour, WSU, Wichita State's men's head basketball coach Greg Marshall resigns amid controversy. We'll not only have the details, but find out how much he's getting paid by the university now that he's left. And the Trump administration announces a significant drawdown of troops in Iraq and Afghanistan in the coming months. For our Something to Talk About on the KOAM News Now Facebook page. Want to know whether or not you think that's a good idea? You can also participate in our Insta poll. Just go to komnewsnow.com/vote. We start with a Skywatch storm tracker because while it is on the clean side, what we do need to point out, red flag warnings all the way until 6 o'clock this evening. It is going to be a windy Wednesday. Temperatures very, very nice right now. Sitting in the mid to high 40s. That's a good 18, 19 degree difference in some places than what we experienced on our Tuesday. Freeman Health System sky camera, where we've got temperatures at 47. Still got a wind chill in effect though. Only feels like it's 42. As far as what we're anticipating with those winds, look at these gust numbers, easily cruising over 40 miles an hour by mid-morning and even into the evening. Not going to die down really until we get into early Friday. Our weather trend for today, that south wind sure does feed us some nice warm November temperatures all the way up into the high 60s. We'll even throw a 70 up there every now and then, not a whole bunch of 70s. Future track will remain clear. And the reason we have the red flag warning, extremely dry. Those humidity numbers going to drop down around 30%. Let's please avoid any outdoor burning. Mercy and Freeman officials say they're overwhelmed with COVID-19 patients, and now health officials are calling on city leaders for a mask mandate to try to get things under control. As of yesterday, Mercy has 50 COVID patients, 16 of those on ventilators. Both of Freeman's COVID units are full, and that's affecting wait times for ER visits. Same story at Mercy. Jasper County Health Department says that in the past 7 days, it's averaged 81 new cases a day. And yesterday, the county reported 5 more deaths. Based on data and hospital resources, experts say something has to change, especially with the holidays approaching. Freeman's Dr. Robert McNabb says families need to ask themselves some very tough questions.
Would you trade one Thanksgiving with your loved ones to get 25 more Thanksgivings with your loved one, right? I think that's some of the calculus that we need to think about.
Dr. McNabb said he hopes a mask mandate will be instated ahead of the holidays. Joplin Mayor Ryan Stanley says once he's had a discussion with the leadership of both Jasper and Newton counties, he'll update Joplin City Council and discuss how to proceed. The mayor of Carthage, Carl Junction, and Webb City said in a joint statement they encourage people to wear masks. From not being used to now having so many patients that it's being compared to a war zone, it's Cox Health in Springfield. Gave an up-close look at its COVID-19 ICU ward. David Chasanoff spoke with a woman whose husband died in that unit. He has more.
He was great. He got me whatever I wanted. I was spoiled.
37 years of happiness with Fred Looper. On Friday, it will be 38 years.
We were a great partnership. So we were good partners. We complemented each other. He was quiet, I'm outgoing. We tried to help people.
Fred has grandkids, Abel, who's 6, and Freddie, who's 4.
I really love him. I love him a bunch.
And how much do you guys miss him?
A bunch.
Jane says her husband Fred was sick for 2 weeks in August, and at one point he couldn't breathe or get up. So Jane called 911, and Fred was taken to the hospital, where he tested positive for COVID-19. Fred didn't have any underlying health conditions, but he was 67 years old. Fred was admitted to Cox South's COVID-19 ward.
It was very hard. We didn't get to see him. I didn't get to talk to him after that because he texted, because he had a lot of breathing type apparatus. He was on a ventilator for a week.
They texted back and forth.
He told me he couldn't wait to come home. It was really hard. I read those texts a lot because they just touched my heart.
On September 7th,
they called and told us that there was nothing they could do. We went and got to say goodbye to him, but he was unconscious. I sang him hymns and told him how much I loved him and how much I was going to miss him.
Since that day, she's reminisced about their time together.
It's been very difficult 2 months. I'm a very upbeat, happy person, but I get angry because people don't take it seriously. And I say, I hope and pray you don't have to suffer like we have. Because if you don't take it seriously, obviously you're a walking time bomb.
extend COVID-19 liability protections. If passed, the bill would protect healthcare providers from lawsuits unless there is malicious or intentional misconduct. It would also shield businesses and product manufacturers from claims unless a plaintiff can prove the company had knowledge that a product was defective. As for schools and churches, offers protection if someone contracts COVID there, as long as they can prove they were complying with federal, state, and local health regulations. As Thanksgiving approaches and the pandemic continues, some people are concerned about what their Thanksgiving plans are going to look like this year. According to etiquette expert Valerie Sokolowski, it's all about how you approach those situations and changes. She shared tips with us on how to have conversations with loved ones, family, and friends if you plan to cancel or change your Thanksgiving. She says hosts of Thanksgiving gatherings should set the ground rules ahead of time. Things like whether the host wants to have social distancing or mask wearing at the event, and the same goes for guests who may have worries. She says they should reach out and share their concerns with the host. Upcoming holiday celebration is going to be different this year, but still more important, it's check up on people who will be alone. This year, the Carthage Crisis Center is preparing 300 boxed meals for Thanksgiving. Everyone's going to enjoy a 5-course meal and also a small gift from the Crisis Center.
This year, of course, since we're not serving meals here, going to the people, just seeing a friendly face, just seeing somebody that can touch out to them, reach out to them, it's so important because there's so much loneliness this time of year.
Carthage Crisis Center usually serves up more than 400 Thanksgiving meals to people in need throughout the greater Carthage area. Just about 5:07. Let's run back, take a look at our day planner on this Wednesday in mid-November. Sunrise is going to be here at 7:01. And remember, 40-mile-an-hour gusts out of the south. Got the red flag warning all the way until 6 o'clock tonight. No outdoor burning, please. Warming trend continues, 70s for Thursday and Friday. Still looking at scattered rain for Saturday and Sunday, followed by the cold front that'll drop us down to the 50s for next week. As a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, student spreading.
There are major concerns that college students returning home for Thanksgiving break could bring COVID with them. I'm Laura Podesta with how communities and colleges are preparing.
Reaction from lawmakers on an announced troop drawdown in the Middle East. And signing day for several local athletes. We'll find out who's moving on to play at the college level as you're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back. Yesterday was a big day for one Galena High School senior who will continue her softball career on the Division I level, going to attend Auburn University in Alabama. KOAM Sports Director Jacob Leonard has her story.
McNeamer is making the jump from the CNC to the SEC.
I am ready. I have been ready for 4 years now, so I think that it will be a very big jump, but I think I'm ready for it.
She's always in the cages getting extra reps, playing all year round. I mean, she's well prepared for SEC softball.
McNeamer signed Tuesday afternoon to continue her softball career at Auburn University. She's part of an Auburn recruiting class that's ranked one of the best recruiting classes in the country.
I do feel a little pressure, but I also feel a little bit of confidence because I'm a part of that. I know that I contribute a lot to that.
McNeamer will play second base for the Tigers.
As a softball player, I mean, she's a coach's dream. I mean, powerful offensively and defensively. Can play all over the field for us. Primarily plays shortstop for us, but like I said, she can play anywhere.
She's a two-time All-State selection, but missed her junior season last spring due to COVID-19.
High school ball really is just an escape. Like, I love my teammates, I love the team, it's so much fun. And not being able to do that and having to sit at home, not seeing any of them, not practicing, it was really tough.
With this part of the process behind her, McNeamer now turns her attention to her senior season, which she wants to finish the right way.
I want to get a state championship. I mean, we have the potential to go to state. We have the potential to win state. We just need to do it.
Congratulations to Riley and the entire McNeamer family. And while Riley signed yesterday, she's actually been committed to Auburn since 2017. At Carthage High School, senior Caden Krolisic also signed a letter of intent, crossing the state line, going to play for Pitt State next season. and middle infielder for Bob Fornelli and the Gorillas. So congratulations to Caden as well.
I'm just excited to just keep playing baseball. I always grew up playing it, and ever since I could hold a baseball, I knew this is what I wanted to do. I feel like I'm going to go in as an infield, but I'm just going to go in and work hard, and if they need me anywhere else, that's where I'll be.
Down in Baxter Springs, had 4 signings Tuesday afternoon. Allie Fry, she's going to go to Fort Scott Community College, play a little softball there. All-state player Riley Bush headed to Cowley County. And then the final 2 going to be teammates as Zach Beeler and Brandon Kelly both signed to play at Ottawa University. Wichita State men's head basketball coach Greg Marshall resigns as the leader of the program. The resignation comes after an internal investigation into allegations of not only physical but also verbal abuse of players and assistant coaches. Marshall happens to be the winningest coach in Wichita State history. Led the Shockers to 8 NCAA tournament appearances, including making the Final Four in 2013. Marshall said in a statement, it was a difficult decision, but one he felt was necessary for his family, university, and student athletes. As part of the agreement that came out yesterday, it was revealed that the contract with the resignation of Greg Marshall will pay him $7 million over the next 6 years. Still to come on the KOAM, iota continues to batter Central America. A look at some of the devastation that is left behind, and a check on our 7-day forecast when the KOAM Morning News returns.
The Christmas.
Right at 5:17, roll a little weather on the 7s. We're going to be dominated today by wind. Going to be a warm Wednesday, but it's going to be a windy Wednesday as well. That's why we've got a red flag warning in effect till 6 p.m. It's going to be a combination of not only the wind, but also the very low dry humidity. A red flag warning indicates we need to avoid any outdoor burning conditions just right for wildfires to spread and spread quickly. And you can tell it actually stretches quite extensively from the panhandles all the way up to portions of North Missouri and even Nebraska. Freeman Health System sky camera, I guess extremely comfortable outside, 47 degrees, even with the wind chill. Much better temperatures than what we had yesterday. We had a couple communities that were below the freezing point yesterday. And so they're talking almost a 20-degree jump in some places. Independence already been able to push up to 50, 46 in Carthage, and 46 right now in Pittsburgh as well. Sunrise on the bus stop forecast, we will call it 7:01 officially. And that wind really begins to pick up about the 9 o'clock hour. Nationally speaking, there we go. The ridge of the jet stream slowly making its way. Was sitting about right there over Denver yesterday. So as it makes that easterly push, that feeds us the warm November temperatures. Still have the snowstorm on the northeastern portion of the United States, and then thunderstorm activity encompassing portions of the Pacific Northwest. As far as the remnants of iota, just about ready to push off into the Pacific, and we'll take a look at the damage that it left in both Nicaragua and Honduras here in just a little bit. Clear sky watch storm tracker for us. Like I said, our only concern is going to be fighting off the wind and staying safe with the extremely low humidity. I think we'll see some humidity readings that'll be down as low as 25, 30% here this afternoon. High 60s, going to be probably going to throw a 70 up there every now and then overnight, the wind keeps on coming in. You know, not one of those usually after sunset, we get a chance to calm down a little bit. We're still going to go 15 to 20 miles per hour all the way into tomorrow, but temperature is going to be in the 50s. So to give you an idea of the gust numbers that we're talking about, cruising past 40 miles per hour there. That's about the noon hour. And then, like I said, it'd be really nice if the nighttime would calm down a little bit, but it's going to persist all the way into Friday morning. Look at the 7-day forecast. Yep, we're still got those 70s on the board, looking like a great end of the work week. Rain coming on Saturday and Sunday. It's going to be scattered, not looking at anything severe, and we need it. But then look at that cold front dropping in. Takes us to the 50s for next week. Time now to turn our attention to the KOAM News Now Facebook page and our morning Insta poll. Some U.S. troops in Afghanistan and Iraq are going to be headed home by mid-January at the direction of President Trump. It's a move, however, that's drawing criticism from some of his closest allies and outspoken critics. David Spunt has the story from D.C.
Acting Defense Secretary Christopher Miller on Tuesday announced the U.S. will pull roughly 2,500 troops from Afghanistan and Iraq in the coming months.
By January 15th, 2021, our forces, their size in Afghanistan, will be 2,500 troops. Our force size in Iraq will also be 2,500 by that same date.
That's a reduction of almost half the force in Afghanistan and 500 service members in Iraq. The withdrawal is a move consistent with President Trump's repeated pledge to bring forces home from America's long wars. He's making that happen in the final days of his presidency. The move goes against the long-standing advice of senior military officials who prefer a slower, more methodical pullout.
This is consistent with our established plans and strategic objectives and does not equate to a change in U.S. policy or objectives.
Lawmakers on both sides of the aisle fear conditions are not right to pull the troops. One concern, putting the Taliban in a more powerful position and undercutting ongoing peace negotiations.
And Trump is once again putting his own self-interest ahead of our national interests. He is sowing chaos, and we most need stability.
I think a precipitous drawdown in either Afghanistan or Iraq would be a mistake.
2,500 troops from Afghanistan and Iraq in the coming months.
Secretary Miller says the U.S. will be ready to respond if conditions deteriorate in either Afghanistan or Iraq. Our question to you this morning: do you think the troop presence and the drawdown in Iraq and Afghanistan is a good idea? You can log on to Facebook, give us your comments there, or take part in our Insta poll. Go to KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. Be back with Health Watch next.
Topping Health Watch this morning, with Thanksgiving approaching, there are concerns that college students around the country could unknowingly bring the coronavirus home to their families and communities. Laura Podesta has more.
There are a lot of things that I wish that I could be doing this semester.
Stella Piasecki is making the best of her sophomore year at Skidmore College and says she and her friends are trying to stay safe during the pandemic. Students are also tested regularly for COVID.
I definitely feel a lot more comfortable knowing that everyone is getting tested once a week.
With Thanksgiving almost here, experts are concerned as college students plan to come home. Research shows more than half of transmissions in the U.S. are from young, asymptomatic people. Dr. David Paul-Thiel is with the Yale School of Public Health.
What we don't want to have happen is for Thanksgiving to be an event where a whole bunch of silent spreaders, ticking time bombs, get unleashed on the nation's airports and train stations and Thanksgiving dining tables.
Preventing that from happening varies from college to college. Some require tests, offer voluntary tests, or just rely on quick symptom checks. Schools like Temple University are offering free testing this week.
If I am positive, I won't be going home, so I wanted to get tested as soon as possible.
Some colleges will have students finish the semester remotely. Others will bring students back after the holiday, which could be risky. Stella's mom is glad her daughter takes the pandemic seriously.
I totally trust her, and I know what she and her friends are doing, so I was pretty hopeful up until earlier today that a very small Thanksgiving with just me and my 3 kids might actually happen.
Stella was just notified she had contact with someone who tested positive for COVID.
They told me that I need to be in quarantine starting today.
She'll be tested later this week and hope she can get home soon. Laura Podesta, CBS News.
The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention has not issued any specific recommendations for the holidays for college students. Doctors also do not want kids to go home without a flu shot. We know that being overweight and obese puts patients at higher risk of serious complications from the coronavirus. And now new research shows the link is strongest for younger adults under the age of 50. A study in the journal Circulation looked at more than 7,600 patients and found severely obese people under 50 are more likely to be hospitalized, need a ventilator, and die from COVID. About 2/3 of American adults are obese or overweight. In vitro fertilization does not increase a woman's risk of developing ovarian cancer, and that's according to new research in the Journal of the National Cancer Institute. Previous studies suggested women undergoing IVF to get pregnant could possibly be at risk because of the stimulation of the ovaries. That's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
Flag warnings indicating it's going to be windy and extremely dry. Need to avoid any outdoor burning. Temperatures already cruising into the high 40s. Stark contrast from what we experienced yesterday. And we're actually going to be able to make it up into the high 60s, low 70s later on this afternoon. Plenty of sunshine, just mind the wind going to come in from the south, and we still have got 70s to finish out the work week. We'll be back right after this.
Local healthcare leaders speak out in favor of a mask mandate. We'll have the latest. Plus, how Missouri lawmakers hope to extend COVID-19 liability protections. And tips from an etiquette expert on altering your Thanksgiving plans.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 5:30. I'm Tanya Bach. Coming up this half hour, our morning talker today is about bringing troops home. We want to know whether or not you think it's a good idea to scale down U.S. military presence in the Middle East. You can also participate in our Insta poll. Just visit KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. But first, check on your forecast.
To fight the wind today, red flag warning until 6 o'clock this evening as it comes in from the south. As we progress through the wind gust tracker, I mean, look at this. We're just rolling at 30 to 40 miles per hour, and we're doing so all the way into Thursday morning. This thing doesn't want to die down anytime soon. It is feeding us much warmer temperatures as we sit pretty much in the mid to high 40s right now. From the Freeman Health System sky camera in Joplin, we're at 47 degrees, wind chill of 42 now. There's a big difference from yesterday morning. Look at these temperature changes. They're pushing up 16-degree difference in Girard right there, 13 in Miami. Now, it was warmer out on the far southeastern portion of southwest Missouri yesterday, and so that's why that temperature change kind of negligible there in Aurora and in Cassville. Sunrise 7:01 on the bus stop forecast. A lot of sunshine early. And as a matter of fact, the warming trend is just going to continue across the entire Midwest as the ridge of the jet stream is going to give us temperatures that, more like perhaps late September than the middle of August, all the way up into the low 70s is what we'll see today. Kind of average out about 69. It'll be a little bit cooler up to the north, but look at that. 70s on Thursday and Friday. Then Friday night throughout the weekend, we begin to pick up our rain.
Not too bad. So a couple more days of beautiful weather before it hits.
We're just fighting the wind today.
We'll take it. All right, thanks, Michael. As coronavirus cases increase across the area, Joplin hospitals are asking city and county officials to consider a mask mandate across surrounding communities. Both Freeman and Mercy are concerned they could be pushed beyond their limits. At Mercy, over 50 people are in the hospital with COVID-19. It's the second highest caseload they've seen since the pandemic began, with October being an especially difficult month for both hospitals. As of yesterday, Mercy has 16 people on ventilators. Freeman just has 2, but both of their COVID units are full, and that's impacting wait times for ER visits. The Jasper County Health Department says in the past 7 days, they've averaged 81 new cases each day, and yesterday 5 more deaths were reported. Based on data and hospital resources, experts say something has to change.
We are reaching concerning levels of capacity, and there isn't unlimited capacity. We will reach our full capacity soon if we don't change this trajectory.
Hospitals are hoping to get things back under sustainable control with a mask mandate, hopefully ahead of the holidays. Joplin Mayor Ryan Stanley says once he has had a discussion with the leadership of both Jasper and Newton counties, he will update Joplin City Council and discuss how to proceed. Oklahoma Governor Kevin Stitt on Monday announced new restrictions in the state because of the pandemic, and we wanted to know what residents thought. One of the new restrictions is the requirement of masks in state buildings. Also, bars and restaurants must have tables spaced at least 6 feet apart and close in-person service at 11 p.m. An official with an area restaurant says they've already been following CDC guidelines, so these new restrictions won't change much.
We continue to follow the CDC guidelines, bleaching the tables, all the condiments. We've been following all that, wearing gloves while we prep food and everything. So we'll just keep continuing on and following the new restrictions.
Governor Stitt also said he wants all public schools to return to in-person learning after Christmas break. The Missouri legislature is focusing on legal protections for organizations during the pandemic. During a special session, lawmakers have been discussing expanded liability protections for healthcare providers, businesses, schools, and churches during the pandemic. The goal is to prevent frivolous lawsuits as organizations try to adjust to changing restrictions and guidelines. But a local attorney says it's a bad idea because there's already a process for handling meritless claims.
This is another example of nursing homes, healthcare providers, insurance companies trying to protect themselves and their profits at the expense of innocent people. Because it's not a choice between is there going to be harm or not, okay? The question is, if somebody's at fault, start there. If they're a wrongdoer, are they going to pay for the harms they caused?
There's not protection for the really bad actor out there, the one who intentionally is doing something really bad.
Special session had to be paused due to COVID-19 cases in the Capitol. The session should resume after Thanksgiving. As Thanksgiving quickly approaches, some people are concerned about gathering due to the COVID-19 pandemic. KOAM's Caitlin Shive talked with an etiquette expert on how to handle changes to Thanksgiving plans this year.
Thanksgiving has been a huge holiday for Elizabeth Tinknell's family for the past 50 years.
Our Thanksgiving is never just a one-day Thanksgiving. It was a week because we'd have house guests and we'd have dinner guests. And so we've done this for long, and it was our big family holiday.
But this year they have made the decision to cancel their Thanksgiving gathering because of the pandemic.
Between children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren, probably 6 different households that would be represented, and there was just too much risk involved.
She says communicating this decision was quite easy with her family as they were all open about their concerns.
It was difficult for each of us to tell the others that we needed to do it. I think individually we all knew it, and that's probably what made it easier, because I didn't have anybody say, "But Grandma!"
But it may not be easy for some. Etiquette expert Valerie Sokolowski gave some advice on how to handle changes to Thanksgiving plans this year, whether you are hosting a gathering.
The hostess needs to remember that she's the hostess, and she can very easily and graciously set the ground rules, even if it's family, and particularly if it's any other than family.
But also what to do if you have concerns as a guest.
To call or send an email to the hostess and say, I'm very sensitive to what the ground rules may be. I want to be appropriate in how I show up so that we can all enjoy this beautiful meal you have planned. So please tell me what to expect.
Sticking with 5 simple rules to enjoy the holiday during unprecedented times.
Stay gracious, have a good attitude, be respectful, and do everything you can within yourself to not take things personally and to show up with a strong presence.
Caitlin Shive, KOAM News.
You can find this story on our website, KOAMnewsnow.com, along with some tips and suggestions for Thanksgiving this year from the CDC. That's a look at our top news stories coming up this half hour on the KOAM Morning News. We introduce you to Cheer Up Charlie.
A boy was bullied in school until his story went viral. I'm Ian Lee with how a 10-year-old's heroes came to the rescue.
Plus, a British diplomat rescues a woman in China from drowning, and it was all caught on camera. We'll have that story in a bit, but first, it's 5:37.
We're sitting in the high 40s here, and the wind, it's already picking up. We're going to end up in the high 60s, low 70s. Red flag warning, so no outdoor burning today. But it is going to feed us abnormally warm temperatures all the way into Friday. That's when the rain will begin and carry us into the weekend. Come back with World Watch right after this.
Topping World Watch, the record hurricane season continues to wreak havoc. Hurricane Iota pounded Central America, coming ashore as a catastrophic Category 4 storm and hitting the same region devastated just 2 weeks ago by another hurricane. The storm is being blamed for at least 1 death in Colombia. Skylar Henry reports from Washington.
Hurricane Iota unloaded heavy rain on parts of Central America, ripping off roofs and washing out roads in Honduras and shredding businesses in Colombia. Iota made landfall in Nicaragua as a Category 4 storm, packing winds of 155 miles per hour.
Iota is the strongest storm in the season so far to make landfall.
Earlier, the United Nations warned of catastrophic mudslides and life-threatening floods in areas still recovering from another major hurricane almost 2 weeks ago.
Nicaragua, Honduras, other parts of Central America have not recovered from Hurricane Eta, and now they're being slammed by this new, terrific, powerful hurricane.
Overnight, the Colombian Navy loaded humanitarian aid onto boats. Members of the Nicaraguan army carried babies and the elderly to higher ground. Virginia Moore from Nicaragua was among tens of thousands of people who had to flee. Forecasters say Iota could dump as much as 30 inches of rain in Central America as it makes its way through the region over the next few days. Officials say the extent of the damage may not be known for some time due to widespread power and phone outages. Skyler Henry, CBS News.
Iota is the 30th named storm of the 2020 Atlantic hurricane season, marking a record. The hurricane season officially ends at the end of the month. United Nations officials are worried that fighting between the Ethiopian government and a local political party in the north could escalate into a civil war, and it's already causing a humanitarian crisis as thousands flee to camps in neighboring Sudan. More than half of them are children, and that's according to the United Nations Refugee Agency. A U.S. warship intercepted and destroyed an intercontinental ballistic missile in the test conducted by the Missile Defense Agency. Monday's test involved the USS John Finn, which was equipped with a missile defense system developed by Raytheon and Japan's Mitsubishi Heavy Industries. Target missile launched from a test range on the Marshall Islands, and it was shot down outside the Earth's atmosphere by a missile launched off the USS John Finn. Previous tests to shoot down ICBMs had only been done from the ground. Defense officials say this test could eventually add to the network of equipment designed to protect the United States. A British diplomat rescues a drowning woman in China. Footage shows 61-year-old Consul General Stephen Ellison coming to the aid of a woman in a river in southwest China. Ellison is seen putting a flotation device around the unconscious woman before helping people on the riverbank pull her to safety. Local media reports the unidentified victim accidentally slipped in. She regained breathing and consciousness shortly after her rescue. The British embassy states their immense pride in Ellison and his quick action. That's a look at some of your biggest headlines from around the world. Let's toss it over to Michael for our Something to Talk About.
Thank you, Tanya. This morning on the KOAM News Now Facebook page in our morning Insta poll, some U.S. troops in Afghanistan and Iraq headed home by mid-January at the direction of President Trump. Our question to you is, should the U.S. draw down its troop presence in those two countries? And we'll begin our comments with Jim Armstrong, who writes, no troop withdrawal at this time. Commitments of a court agreement have not been met. The theater/region, too unstable and ripe for escalation of violence, victim rights, and internal war. Good morning, KOAM. We say good morning, Jim. Club member Kenny Kimmel. Kenny says probably should hold off for a while. It's not that stable. If he was just considering attacking Iran last week, he will eventually have to turn it over to the new administration. Let them figure out what's best. Rick Norton's, he says, yes, remove all troops. It's time to bring them home. Our troops have been there way too long. Rick says enough is enough. And Guy Hansen says it took amazing intelligence and a single drone strike to take out known Iranian terrorist Qasem Soleimani. It probably took 2 or 3 people, not 5,000 troops. You could theoretically launch one of these babies from your living room in Pittsburgh, Kansas. Guy, your living room bigger than mine. Backyard, though. Backyard. All right, KOAM News Now Insta poll. Right now, 53% say keep it the same. Follow that up with 22% that say withdraw all the troops. We've got 4 answers for you on there, and you can partake. Just go to KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. We'll be back right after this.
Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. Officials around the country are sounding the alarm about the latest coronavirus surge. A record 73,000 people were hospitalized with COVID-19 on Tuesday. More cities and states are limiting indoor gatherings and enacting stricter rules for wearing masks and social distancing. Mercy and Freeman officials say they're becoming overwhelmed with COVID-19 patients, and now health officials are calling on city leaders for a mask mandate to try to get things under control. Jasper County Health Department says in the past 7 days, they've averaged 81 new cases per day Yesterday, the county reported 5 more deaths. Based on data and hospital resources, experts say something has to change, especially with holidays approaching. Some Missouri legislators want to extend COVID-19 liability protections. If passed, the bill would protect healthcare providers from lawsuits unless there is malicious or intentional misconduct. It would also shield businesses and product manufacturers from claims unless a plaintiff can prove the company had knowledge a product was defective. President Trump has fired the official who oversaw national election security. Christopher Krebs headed the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, which last week called the 2020 election the most secure in American history. Krebs responded to his dismissal in a tweet, writing, quote, "Honored to serve, we did it right." That's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
Conditions are ripe on this Wednesday for fires to spread quickly, and get out of control. And that's why a red flag warning is in effect all the way until 6 o'clock tonight. It's a combination of the humidity that's going to drop down to about 25–30%. It's just extremely dry. And also, good south wind. Good may be an understatement. Extremely strong south wind coming in, gusting 40 miles per hour, not only through mid-morning and afternoon, but it'll actually last into the evening as well. Now, temperatures, that feeds us all the way into the high 60s, low 70s today, so a little bit abnormally warm. Speaking of abnormally warm, check out Thursday and Friday, like that as well. Now, Friday night, precip begins, going to take us into a little bit of a rainy weekend, and our temperatures gradually falling to the 50s by next week. Be back right after this.
A British boy who was bullied for his love of musical theater has managed to turn trouble into triumph. The aspiring youngster has launched an anti-bullying campaign to help other kids stand up for themselves. Ian Lee has the story from London.
It's fair to say Charlie Christensen is obsessed with theater.
I love it all, the singing, the acting, the dancing.
But the 10-year-old's passion for song and dance made him a target for bullies at school.
They called me fat, they called me gay, they called me stupid, they called me an idiot, and they were all around really not nice to me, and sometimes it got quite physical.
So Charlie's teacher sent out a plea on social media. It quickly went viral with the hashtag #CheerUpCharlie, winning the hearts of the nation and London's West End theater community.
Cheer up, Charlie! Cheer up, Charlie!
Hundreds of performers from hit shows like Wicked and Hamilton sent messages of support.
Hi!
How are you? Come in.
Charlie also got to meet some of his heroes.
It might be tough now, but you'll get through it, and look how loved you are. This is going to be your home one day.
He even launched a YouTube channel to chat with actors, including Ian Armitage from the CBS sitcom Young Sheldon, who says he's been bullied too.
I think more because I've always loved sparkles and pink and things that are traditionally considered girl things.
Charlie is now determined to help other kids.
It will get better, and you will see a light at the end of the tunnel, and you need to talk. Don't suffer in silence, because we can't change the world in silence.
So he's teamed up with his new celebrity friends to spread his message of hope.
You will be found.
Ian Lee, CBS News, London.
Money raised from the release of that charity single is helping one of Princess Diana's charities during the UK's National Anti-Bullying Week. Great kid. Michael?
Hi, thank you, Tanya. On Facebook, if that's part of your morning routine, you can go to @MichaelHaslett, KOAM. That's the same forecast that you'll find on the Skywatch weather app. And remember, that is abso-free, downloadable on all your mobile devices. So then you can flip on over to @KOAM News. Our something to talk about this morning. Should the U.S. draw down its troop presence in Iraq and Afghanistan? We'll pick up with Michelle Pacini, who writes, "Morning, 4 States and Mama." We say good morning, Michelle. Michelle says, "I believe yes, bring them home, but not for a political statement, but at the right time. Agreed too fast is a bad and dangerous thing to do. At this moment, he's just wanting to say he kept his promise with no regards to the consequences, like in other parts of the world with nuclear bombs." Rocky Cunningham says, "I am and always will be extremely proud of Mr. Trump's success and accomplishments. That being said, it's time for him to leave things alone and try to maintain a little integrity to his legacy. Just savor the flavor of having an amazing president despite the Dems' interference." Rocky says, "Come on, man. You know the thing." Kim Jones says these same critics have been chanting "bring them home" for the last 10 years. No winning with them. He wouldn't bring any back without the approval of military advisors. And Tony Stout says we need the Republican troops home, leave the Democrats, thanks to their new chief and staff. John Trebian says yes, bring our men home. We are not world police. John asks, what's the UN for? Good morning, America. Good morning, John. On the KOAM News Now Insta poll this morning, I haven't seen a whole lot of movement. Still 54% saying keep it the same. The interesting one is withdraw all troops and withdraw most of the troops, now sitting equal at 19%. You can take part. Go to komnewsnow.com/vote. Be back right after this. Hate to sound like a broken record, but I'm going to keep preaching it. No outdoor burning today. I know, maybe even tempting this evening because that wind coming in at 40 miles per hour probably going to knock down some limbs. But the fact of the matter is, it's just way too dry. We've got a red flag warning lasting all the way until 6. Now, we are going to get a little bit of rain here by the time we get through the weekend. So let's sit back and enjoy temperatures in the 70s before then. Be back right after this.
Local healthcare leaders speak out in favor of a mask mandate. We'll have the latest. Plus, how Missouri lawmakers hope to extend COVID-19 liability protections. And tips from an etiquette expert on altering your Thanksgiving plans.
The 4 states most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News at 6 a.m. I'm Tanya Bach. Coming up this half hour, we're going to tell you what Thanksgiving travel could look like amid the pandemic. And the Trump administration announces a significant scale back in troops stationed in Iraq and Afghanistan. For our Something to Talk About, we want to know whether or not you think the scale back is a good idea. You can also go to KOAMnewsnow.com/vote to participate in this morning's Insta poll. But first, a check on your forecast.
Oh, Glory out there is going to get quite a workout today with that wind coming in from the south. You see it blowing there in the light. Like I said, it's not going to stop anytime soon. Clear Skywatch storm tracker, more importantly, red flag warning lasting all the way until 6 as our wind gusts are going to cruise past 40 miles an hour all the way through the nighttime before it finally begins to die down on Thursday. No outdoor burning, please. Conditions with the humidity dropping as low as it is and being that windy, it's going to be ripe to spread. But same point in time, feeding us wonderful temperatures. Mid to high 40s right now with the Freeman Health System sky camera, 47. A little bit of a wind chill in effect. Only feels like it's 41. As far as the bus stop forecast goes, 7:01 is what we will call sunrise over Joplin, all the way into the mid-50s there by the 9 o'clock hour, and eventually topping out in the high 60s, low 70s. Can't beat that for middle of November. Absolutely ridiculous. And why stop there? We'll throw up 70s on Thursday and Friday too. Now Friday night, late Friday night, should not go into effect daytime. Begin our rain, and that's going to set us up for a little bit of a wet weekend there, and a cold front drops down to the 50s by next week.
All right, going to have a little bit of a cool down eventually. We'll enjoy this.
Looking forward to some rain. I know the timing's not great for everybody on a weekend, but
yeah,
needing it. Needing it, the fact that we're talking about fire weather today.
True that. With the wind, you got to be safe out there. No burning.
No burn.
All right, thanks, Michael. Mercy Hospital in Joplin currently has more than 50 patients with COVID-19. 16 are on ventilators. It's the second highest caseload they've seen since the pandemic began. And now Mercy, Freeman, and other health leaders are asking for city leaders to step up with a mask mandate to help get things back under control.
The hospitals in Joplin, both Mercy and Freeman, are becoming increasingly concerned as more COVID patients enter their units, pushing them to capacity and beyond ahead of flu season, colder weather, and the holidays.
In a free country, we get to make our own decisions, but we also get to pay for the consequences of our decisions. And those consequences to this point are really straining the healthcare system.
Last week, Tulsa had no ICU beds to be able to take transferred patients, and so all the regional facilities that we would send patients to are really struggling with capacity issues of their own, so that's a big concern.
Both Freeman and Mercy officials agree that a mask mandate would help curb the number of hospitalizations they're experiencing. Dr. McNabb says that at any given time, at least 30% of Freeman's patients are battling COVID.
I can report today with no mask mandate that we're now losing slightly over 1 citizen per day. So that's about 30 plus patients per month, which represents, guys, A 7-fold increase from the time that we dropped the mandate. It's gone up by 7 times.
The coronavirus is highly more contagious than the flu, but it also we cannot spread it if we wear masks, if we do the social distancing. So we can control whether we continue to do the spreading or not, and that's why we're asking for our community's help.
Health Department Director Tony Moore also signed the letter sent to city officials across Joplin, Webb City, Carl Junction, Carthage, Neosho, and all of Jasper and Newton counties. He says a mask mandate can't come soon enough.
It would be great if it went into effect last week, but obviously that didn't happen. And you know, it's difficult in a lot of instances for a whole region to develop mask mandates. Some of the states around us have done statewide mask mandates. It would be nice if in the state of Missouri, maybe the governor would make some sort of a mandate that at least gave guidance that, you know, this is what people should be doing.
In Jasper County, Kate Kelly, KOAM News.
Joplin Mayor Ryan Stanley says that once he has had a discussion with the leadership of both Jasper and Newton counties, he will update the Joplin City Council and discuss how to proceed. The mayors of Carthage, Carl Junction, and Webb City said in a joint statement they encourage people to wear masks. Well, some Missouri legislators want to extend COVID-19 liability protections. If passed, the bill would protect healthcare providers from lawsuits unless there is malicious or intentional misconduct. It would also shield businesses and product manufacturers from claims unless a plaintiff can prove the company had knowledge a product was defective. And for schools and churches, it would offer protection if someone got COVID there, as long as they can prove they were complying with federal, state, and local health regulations.
A good Samaritan, if you come on a car accident, a doctor can get out and try to, you know, might be an orthopedic surgeon and somebody's got a bad bleeding thing. Well, they do what they can do to try to save that person's life. They're protected by our Good Samaritan laws. It's the same kind of thing. We want society as a whole.
Special session had to be paused due to COVID-19 cases in the Capitol. The session should resume after Thanksgiving. Well, as Thanksgiving approaches and the pandemic continues, some people are concerned about what their Thanksgiving plans will look like this year. But according to etiquette expert Valerie Sokolowski, it's all about how you approach those situations and changes. She shared tips with us on how to have conversations with loved ones, family, and friends if you plan to cancel or change your Thanksgiving plans. And she says hosts of Thanksgiving gatherings should set the ground rules ahead of time. Things like whether the host wants to have social distancing or mask wearing at the event. The same goes for guests who may have worry. She says they should reach out and share their concerns with the host.
To call or send an email to the hostess and say, I'm very sensitive to what the ground rules may be. I want to be appropriate in how I show up so that we can all enjoy this beautiful meal you have planned. So please tell me what to expect.
The CDC offers some steps on staying safe during Thanksgiving by washing hands, wearing masks, and socially distancing at gatherings, or to consider other activities like a virtual Thanksgiving. Well, a woman from New Hampshire reunites with her dog in Illinois after the dog was missing for almost a year. This is the reunion, which happened last Friday in Belleville, Illinois, which is about 17 miles east of St. Louis. The story started during Thanksgiving of 2019. Kate Olson, who lives in New Hampshire, was visiting family in Arnold, Missouri, which is south of St. Louis. Her dog Walter slipped out of his collar and ran away. Olson stayed in St. Louis for 2 weeks, posting flyers and searching for Walter. She had no luck and went home, but returned in January to look again. She received reports of sightings, but no word that he had been found until Lost Paws Trapping of Belleville called her on Friday. She flew to St. Louis immediately and reunited with Walter that night. A sweet reunion there. 6:07.
Good old Bellevue, Illinois. I spent a month there one night. Fresh air forecast, a lot of sunshine. It's already blustery out there, coming in easily 15 to 20 miles per hour already, and we haven't even got to sunrise yet. Red flag warning, please no outdoor burning. Temperature's going to be great, not only today, but all the way to the end of the work week.
Weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, Jesse Irwin gets an update from the SEK Humane Society. Plus, how the coronavirus pandemic has forced a Missouri hospital to rely on help from community volunteers. And apple pie in a can. Yeah, we're going to tell you about the new Pepsi flavor that could soon hit store shelves. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back. In Money Watch this morning, this Thanksgiving traffic is expected to be lighter and gas prices cheaper. But AAA predicts fewer Americans are planning to travel over the holiday after another rise in cases of COVID-19 across the country. Mandy Gaither has more on the Thanksgiving travel outlook.
Like most things this year, Thanksgiving is expected to be different.
People are just making the decision not to travel. We're going to see an at least 10% decline compared to 2019.
Jeanette McGee with AAA says their original forecast predicted about 50 million Americans planning to go somewhere over the holiday.
But since that forecast was put together, we know that number has definitely decreased. And that's because it's the pandemic. COVID numbers are increasing and states are changing their regulations, their guidance in terms of travel when you leave the state or when you return.
Of those traveling, AAA predicts 95% will go by car to places close by and be gone for fewer days. If you plan to travel, plan ahead.
Pack more food and water than you typically do to limit, the number of steps you have to make. You need a thermometer, you need your mask, hand sanitizers, and cleaning supplies.
As for traffic, Wednesday afternoon is expected to be the busiest, but McGee says the roads won't look like they typically do over this holiday.
When you're going through major cities, you can expect some delays, but those delays are more like 20 minutes to 60 minutes, not hours and hours of delays.
Still, if you're going somewhere, AAA recommends leaving early or late, especially around cities and rush hour times. For Consumer Watch, I'm Mandy Gaither.
AAA says gas prices nationally are about 50 cents less on average than they were a year ago. Well, Pepsi has a new dessert-flavored cola. It's called Pepsi Apple Pie. It contains cinnamon and apple flavors. Yummy. For now, the soda is only available through a contest. With Thanksgiving a little under a week away, the first 1,500 people to submit a photo of a failed baking attempt will receive a free 2-liter bottle. I'd like to try that. I don't like to burn my pies. That's it for Money Watch. Here's Michael with our Something to Talk About.
On your KOAM News Now Facebook page and our morning Insta poll, you have some U.S. troops in Afghanistan and Iraq headed home by mid-January at the direction of President Trump. It's a move, however, that's drawing criticism from some of his closest allies, as well as his most outspoken critics. So our question to you, do you think the drawdown of troop presence in Iraq and Afghanistan is a good idea as far as timing-wise? David Green says, hey, stupid, you know who you are. We haven't fixed those dumps in almost 20 years of nation building. He says it's time to get out now. John Tribune, he went with bring them home, we're not the world police. And Kim Jones said the same critics that have been bring them home for the last 10 years. Kim says no winning with them. He wouldn't bring back any without approval of military advisors. As far as our Insta poll goes this morning, appreciate all the engagement and the votes coming in. 55% of you, it's been pretty static as far as our percentages go. 55% of you saying keep it the same, while 18% going back and forth here between withdraw all the troops, withdraw most of the troops. And also found it interesting that as of right now, big fat 0% for increased troop presence. Polls are open all morning. You can take part. Go to KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. That's KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. Be back right after this. 6:17 on a windy Wednesday. Check out Old Glory outside, Television City right here. And it's going to get a workout pretty much out of the south like that all day long. It's turning out to be a gorgeous morning. But that wind, the reason we've got a red flag warning, the wind and the fact that our humidity is going to drop so low today. Conditions going to be ripe for fires to spread and spread quickly throughout the Midwest. It could be tempting with that wind going to knock down some branches. So let's avoid any outdoor burning. Like I said, I know it might be tempting. Freeman Health System sky camera, 47 degrees. Taking a little wind chill in effect right there. Only feeling like it's 41, but comparatively speaking to where we were yesterday. This is anywhere from about 10 to 18 degree jump. I mean, we had temperatures that were below the freezing mark when we started on Tuesday. So the fact that we're talking about 55 degrees there for recess on the bus stop forecast, that's kind of hard to beat. And the reason, the ridge from the jet stream right there, it's just controlling everything that's below it. And very nice temperatures, and also too, keeping this system out in the Pacific Northwest kind of stagnant. It's dropped a little bit to the south right there, but it's not really able to penetrate over the Rockies for the next couple of days until the ridge begins to move off to the east toward the Great Lakes. As far as the remnants of Hurricane Iota now getting ready to push off into the Pacific Basin, Nicaragua and Honduras now face the additional threat of not only the torrential flooding that they've had with back-to-back hurricanes, but also mudslides will present themselves as well. Here in the 4 states, high 60s, low 70s. Can't beat it. Wind going to be around all day into the night, however. But look at this, 70s on Thursday and Friday. Friday night, a little rain kicks in, takes us into what's going to be a wet weekend, and temperatures steadily dropping down to the 50s for next week. Over to Jesse in Studio K.
You know, with all this time that we've spent at home, either on our own or, you know, with family, but not really fully engaging with people the way we would in a normal year, there are different ways that we look to make a house a home. And this year, one of the best ways you might be able to do so is by adopting a dog. Now, hear me out on this, and this morning to help me with this case is our own Jasmine Kyle, who is with the SEK Humane Society. And Jasmine, I love talking to you about this because when it comes to adopting a dog, you and I have had these conversations for, I mean, it's honestly been years at this point. So yeah. What is the #1 case for adopting a dog heading into the holiday season?
Yeah, the biggest thing with adopting a dog, especially during the holiday season, is you're providing that dog something that they probably have never had before. And a lot of our animals, they are strays or they come from very bad backgrounds. So it's honestly a blessing because after every holiday season, we'll get tons of pictures afterwards. And you can see it on their faces of how appreciative and loving that family is to that dog, seeing these dogs completely change to sleeping with the kids, going up and experiencing photos of Santa. It's a beautiful, fantastic moment. And the holiday season is a perfect time to be adopting just because you have a little bit more time to really see the full connection. You've got more bonding time, you know, with people being off of work and everything.
Right. Well, we've got about a minute left, so I want to quickly just go over, there are 2 dogs that are up for adoption, and one of them is Sunshine and the other one is Harley. So tell us about Sunshine and Harley quickly, and what you need
Harley
to do if you're interested.
Harley is our pet of the week. He is a corgi. We never ever get corgis in, but he is a cowboy corgi. Harley is a very sweet boy. He's just like Sunshine though. He's looking for a home with no other dogs. Unfortunately, we think he came from a bit of a bad background where he may have been scruffed too many times. We see that with these little dogs, and when they're adults, it's literally like you choking them. So we do not recommend that for small dogs. So he's a little bit cautious of having something around his neck, like a collar. He hates collars, but you can walk him with a slip leash just fine.
And of course, Sunshine being the other dog that we're highlighting this week. I mean, just use 3 words to describe Sunshine, because Sunshine's one of my favorite stories of all time.
Loving, amazing, and loyal. You never get a dog that will make every single day feel like she can give you more. I mean, if you give her hugs, she'll give you 200 back. She will never, ever give you a day where you are sad. She'll make sure of that.
That's awesome. Well, hey, I know you have an adoption event coming up, so quickly give us the details before we head out.
Yeah, this Saturday, PetSense here at Pittsburgh, Kansas. We'll be there from 11 to 1, so for 2 hours, and we'll have 3 adoptable dogs at that event.
All right, we're going to have that information on our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. Head to our morning show page. If you don't want a dog at this point, I mean, come on. They're too cute. There's kittens, too. All right.
There are.
We'll be right back after this.
Topping Health Watch this morning, administrators at a Northeast Missouri hospital are warning they're in danger of becoming overwhelmed if COVID-19 trends are not reversed. They have enough beds for now, but not nearly enough staff. The hospital is even calling on volunteers from the community to help. Blake Saman has more.
So right now we're struggling. Officials say around 10% of their clinical staff are out today due to COVID-related reasons. So that has decreased our ability to accept patients, and we are struggling to manage the influx of patients who do need beds.
We're literally hour to hour as far as whether our beds are full, and that is typically based on the fact of whether we have staffing to cover those patients or not.
Officials say the situation is so dire they're asking for help from community members with healthcare experience.
We could use any kind of caregiving aid like a CNA, or you even can have nursing aides volunteer work in the hospital.
Another issue is the county's positivity rate. Chief Medical Officer Dr. Jeff Davis says the lowest it's been over the last few weeks was 20%, and it's gone as high as 36%.
That's a very high positivity rate, which means there's active community transmission.
Davis says if the virus continues to spread unchecked, they'll have to start transferring patients out, which could lead to more problems.
And what we're finding at other tertiary care facilities that we transfer our patients to, like Blessing Hospital in Quincy, Northeast Regional in Kirksville, even Boone or the University of Missouri in Columbia, they may not have any COVID beds available for us.
Officials say to avoid this, people need to do the things they've been told to for months now.
Increase your hand hygiene, wear your masks when you are out in public or around other people, and don't make unnecessary trips you don't have to.
So please just take the time to do your part to help slow this thing down.
Administrators say they will now defer all elective surgeries to allow staff to be deployed in clinical areas of the hospital. Well, the United States has the highest rates of maternal mortality among high-income nations, and that's according to a new report from the Commonwealth Fund. U.S. women have the highest death rate from pregnancy and childbirth complications. The report also shows the U.S. has a shortage of maternity care providers and midwives. That's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
Beautiful, clear 4-state start, but it is a windy one. I tried to just open the back door, go look at sunrise, came back, whacked me in the head. So be careful out there. It's going to be sunny, dry, windy, and conditions ripe for fires to spread. So we need to avoid outdoor burning because there's a very good shot that south wind is going to knock down some limbs today. Highs in the high 60s, low 70s. 70s Thursday and Friday. Then a weekend of rain followed by a cold front just in time for next week. But get out and enjoy the warm November temps. Be back right after this.
Local healthcare leaders speak out in favor of a mask mandate. We'll have the latest. Plus, how Missouri lawmakers hope to extend COVID-19 liability protections. And tips from an etiquette expert on altering your Thanksgiving plans.
The 4 states most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 6:30. I'm Tanya Bach. Coming up this half hour, the latest as coronavirus cases surge nationwide. Something to talk about on the KOAM News Now Facebook page. We're asking whether or not you think the U.S. should draw down the number of troops in Iraq and Afghanistan. But first, a check on your forecast.
Gorgeous look at the horizon out there from Television City, where the flag continues to blow with the wind barreling in from the south, giving us red flag warnings until 6 p.m. Wind's impressive, not only the wind gusts, but the timing of it as well, because usually after sunset, it dies down a little bit. Not the case. It's going to keep on coming at us all the way into Thursday. Now, one thing it has done, it's dramatically warmed up our temperatures compared to what we had earlier this week, all the way into the high 40s already. Freeman Health System sky camera in Joplin, 47 degrees. And when we compare our morning temperatures to what we had yesterday, we've seen as much as a 17-degree increase in places like Girard. For the bus stop forecast, official sunrise will be 7:01. Just tell them don't lose your hat out there. It'll be first and foremost. By the time we get to the afternoon, you go to pick them up, they got to walk home from the bus. Yeah, it'll still be windy, but look, we're going to be in the high 60s. It's going to be a delightful afternoon, just fighting the wind. And we warm up all the way into the 70s for Thursday and Friday. Friday night, late Friday night, rain begins and a little bit of a wet weekend followed by a cold front. So give 3 more days of November warmth.
3 more days of
3 more days.
We'll take it. We enjoy that warmth.
Hey, I know the timing's not great on the rain and whatnot over the weekend, but it does look like we can get this out of here before people begin to hit the road there on Wednesday and Thursday. If you are doing a small get together or something of that nature.
All right, sounds good. All right, thanks, Michael. Well, Mercy and Freeman officials say they're becoming overwhelmed with COVID-19 patients, and now health officials are calling on city leaders for a mask mandate to try to get things under control. As of yesterday, Mercy has 50 COVID patients, 16 people on ventilators. Both of Freeman's COVID units are full, and that's affecting wait times for ER visits. It's the same story at Mercy. The Jasper County Health Department says in the past 7 days, they've averaged 81 new cases per day. And yesterday, the county reported 5 more deaths. Based on data and hospital resources, experts say something has to change, especially with the holidays approaching. For a mask mandate is getting reaction from both sides of the argument. We asked some area residents for their views.
Very much in support of a mask mandate. I feel like it does offer protection to everybody that's out in public, both to the wearer and to others in the public that you might encounter.
I don't think it should be mandated. I don't think we've got enough rules as it is, and to have something placed out there that I don't think is fair.
Missouri lawmakers consider legislation that would provide protections against lawsuits for places like hospitals, businesses, and schools during the pandemic. KOAM's Zach Dodge has details on what expanded liability protection would look like.
Earlier this month, Governor Parson expanded a special session to include discussions on liability protections. Co-sponsor Senator Bill White says it's to keep businesses and hospitals that are stepping up during the pandemic from facing frivolous lawsuits. The legislation that's being discussed would provide liability protections for healthcare providers working with new drugs and treatments to fight the disease, protect manufacturers and businesses that are making things like PPE when they didn't before, and protect schools and churches from lawsuits if someone catches the virus when they're there, as long as the organization is following safety protocols.
You don't want your healthcare person saying, I'm not going to treat you because I might get sued. Because what I'm treating you with, this drug it may come out in 2 months that this drug wasn't worthwhile.
But some, like personal injury attorney Scott Voorhees, don't think it's a good idea.
Our Constitution, both the United States and the state Constitution, guarantee a right to a jury trial, and what they're trying to do is take away that right, even when no protection is being offered to people.
He says there's already procedures in place to deal with frivolous lawsuits, so extending protections would keep meritorious suits from going forward.
This is another example of nursing homes, healthcare providers, insurance companies trying to protect themselves and their profits at the expense of innocent people. Because it's not a choice between is there going to be harm or not, okay? The question is, if somebody's at fault, start there. If they're a wrongdoer, are they going to pay for the harms they caused?
There is not protection for the really bad actor out there, the one who intentionally is doing something really bad.
The special session had to be paused due to COVID cases at the Capitol, but should resume after Thanksgiving. Senator White says if it doesn't pass then, he is ready to propose a bill that offers similar protections. Reporting in Joplin, Zach Dodge, KOAM News.
White says if the bill is passed, it would take effect each time the governor declares a state of emergency. As Thanksgiving approaches and the pandemic continues, some people are concerned about what their Thanksgiving plans will look like this year. But according to etiquette expert Valerie Sokolowski, it's all about how you approach those situations and changes. She shared tips with us on how to have conversations with loved ones, family, and friends if you plan to cancel or change your Thanksgiving plans. And she says hosts of Thanksgiving gatherings should set the ground rules ahead of time. Things like whether the host wants to have social distancing or mask wearing at the event. And the same goes for guests who may have worries. She says they should reach out and share their concerns with the host.
Stay gracious, have a good attitude, be respectful, and do everything you can within yourself to not take things personally and to show up with a strong presence.
CDC offers some steps on staying safe during Thanksgiving by washing hands, wearing masks, and socially distancing at gatherings, or to consider other activities like a virtual Thanksgiving. No one was hurt when an experimental plane crash landed in Oklahoma on Tuesday. Officials say the plane went down near the Canadian River in Seminole County. No word on what caused the accident. City of St. Louis is taking steps to combat homelessness with tiny homes. Mayor Linda Crewson announced Tuesday that a new community of tiny homes would provide safe shelter for homeless people. The community includes 50 tiny houses equipped with a bed, desk, chair, shelving unit, heat, and air conditioning. The construction of the homes, first year of the property lease, and other expenses will be covered by an investment of more than $600,000 in CARES Act funding. That's a look at our top news stories coming up this half hour in the KOAM Morning News. Controversy and the transition.
President Trump fires the country's top election security official amidst more lawsuits challenging the election. I'm Deborah Alfrone in Washington with that and how the Biden administration is moving forward.
Plus, should the U.S. draw down its troop presence in Iraq and Afghanistan? We let you weigh in our Something to Talk About. But first, it's 6:37.
Let the old warm-up begin. Going to take us into the high 60s today. A whole lot of sunshine and very, very windy, as the temperatures do keep us in the 50s, though, overnight. That's kind of hard to beat. And then we've got a couple 70s on the board to finish out the work week. We'll be back with Nation Watch next.
Topping Nation Watch this morning, more than a dozen lawsuits brought by the Trump campaign or sympathetic Republicans looking to change the election results have been so far unsuccessful. Publicly, they have alleged voter fraud, but they have yet to show any evidence in court. Late last night, as Deborah Alfrone reports, President Trump fired one of the nation's top election security officials.
2 weeks after Election Day, supporters of President Trump rallied in central Pennsylvania to cheer on the latest legal attempt to overturn the results.
I just want to help support the president and what he's doing to make sure all the legal votes get counted.
President Trump lost Pennsylvania to Joe Biden by more than 80,000 votes. Experts say the legal effort to overturn election results led by Rudy Giuliani is a long shot.
Every single legal vote that has been cast and reported has been upheld by the courts in every single piece of litigation nationwide so far.
Last night, the president fired Chris Krebs, the administration's top election security official. Krebs has been vocal since Election Day, disputing claims of voting fraud.
Treat all sensational and unverified claims with skepticism, to seek trusted sources of information, and that's going to be your state and local election officials.
With President Trump refusing to concede, President-elect Biden has been blocked from receiving intelligence briefings usually given during the transition process. So he's had to find other ways to prepare for the White House.
Defense, intelligence, the whole gambit.
Yesterday, Mr. Biden spoke with former national security officials who served in Republican and Democratic administrations.
There's no presidential responsibility more important than protecting the American people.
Also prohibited from speaking with federal health officials, the Biden transition team will meet with pharmaceutical companies this week to learn more about the coronavirus vaccines. Deborah Alfrone, CBS News, Washington.
In Michigan's Wayne County, which includes Detroit, 2 Republican election officials briefly held up the vote certification process, but later relented, voting in favor of certification after public outcry. Well, officials around the country are sounding the alarm about the latest coronavirus surge. A record 73,000 people were hospitalized with COVID-19 on Tuesday. More cities and states are limiting indoor gatherings and enacting stricter rules for wearing masks and social distancing. Iowa Senator Chuck Grassley is the latest high-profile politician to be infected with the virus. In a tweet, the 87-year-old Republican said he was in isolation but feeling good. The senator's positive test came after he spent money on Capitol Hill. Tuesday, he missed his first vote in 27 years. That's a look at today's top national stories. Let's check back in with Michael for our Morning Talker.
Thank you, Tanya. This morning on the KOAM News Now Facebook page and our morning Insta poll, have some U.S. troops in Afghanistan and Iraq headed home by mid-January at the direction of President Trump? Our question, should the drawdown of troop presence in Iraq and Afghanistan take place? We'll begin with Rob Wood, who says withdrawing too fast? They should have been withdrawn 15 years ago. Dave Sorek says Trump's the first president in a very long time not to initiate a fresh war. He did promise to get peace in the Middle East, nominated 3 times for the Nobel Peace Prize. Maybe he'll run in 2024 as the peace candidate. Rob Getz says, absolutely, we need to tear down the military-industrial complex. And Dave Pitt Sr. says, I'm having trust issues with any decisions made by Mr. Trump during his last days as the POTUS. As far as our Insta poll goes this morning, we've seen a little bit of a change here recently. It said 47% of you saying keep the troop presence in Iraq and Afghanistan the same. That was sitting about mid-50s for most of the show. Now, withdraw all the troops, we've actually seen about a 10% bump up, as that now sits at 28%, followed by withdraw most of the troop. And interestingly enough, still big fat zero for increased troop presence. Continue to keep our poll results going. It's KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. We're going to celebrate birthdays and anniversaries when we return.
We take this time to honor today's four-state hero, Sergeant Melvin Brooks, who served in the United States Army. He fought in the Korean War, where he received the Bronze Star. His hometown, Joplin, Missouri. We are proud to salute Melvin Brooks, our four-state hero.
Get our list started with Justin Jenkins. It might be four, but he's already rock and roll right there. Got a nice set of wheels. Happy birthday to Justin in Riverton.
Garrett McRoberts turning 11 years old this year. Happy birthday to Garrett. Looks like he's a little bit of a racer too. And Yoda Shea.
John Shields got a 14th birthday. He swapped in his wheels for a boat. I'm on a boat. Love it. Happy 14th, Mr. John in Chanute.
We head up to Bronson, Kansas to help celebrate with
The
Joey
U!
Marlowe.
Throw it up!
Yeah. Uniontown pride there. Number 28. Joey Marlowe is 15 years old.
Joey, if you can see me on camera, I got the U up in the air for you, my man. I love
That's a good picture.
Uniontown. Love it. Roman Hurlbert, a 16th birthday. Roman wants you to have a marvelous, marvelous day. Congratulations on 16. He's in Pittsburgh.
All right, Holly Bud Fritter turning 35 years old this year. Happy birthday to Holly in Fort Scott. Birthday was actually yesterday.
Well, we got 43rd birthday on our hands. It's Mr. Mark McCulley. Happy birthday, Mark. He's in the knack.
All right, and happy birthday from your daughter, Carla. It's time to celebrate for Carol Seltzer, who's now 80 years old in Fairland, Oklahoma. As I understand, that's little Snickers there in her hands.
Now, for those of you that know Don Green, who's celebrating his 95th birthday, you know he still acts like he's 50. And he loves those old cars. Mr. Green, a very happy birthday to you, sir. Keep riding along.
Keep on trucking, yeah. In Columbus, Tracy Clugston celebrating another year older. Happy birthday, Tracy.
Ron and Marcia Blaylock with a milestone here. They're celebrating their 20th anniversary in Lamar. Congratulations, Ron and Marcia.
Mike and Janet Ashbacher are celebrating their 31st anniversary. Congrats to the Ashbachers in Arma.
Nice little throwback pic right there. That's wonderful. Happy birthday, happy anniversary to all. Now, here's Tanya Bach with a very important birthday announcement.
That's right. You can be a part of the KOAM Birthday Club. All you have to do is go to our website and sign up. And once you do, you'll get special deals from local businesses. Go to KOAMnewsnow.com. Sign up for the KOAM Birthday Club today.
Abnormally warm November temperatures are going to continue on this Wednesday. Not going to approach the record of 76 from 1999, but we're still going to be high 60s, low 70s here by the end of the day. Big factor is going to be our wind that has resulted in red flag warnings. It's going to come in 25, 30 miles per hour, gust in excess of 40 miles per hour, and also, too, we're going to have very low humidity throughout the Midwest. It's going to be tempting because that wind's probably going to knock down some tree limbs. No outdoor burning, though, as the conditions are going to be ripe for fires to spread and spread quickly. Freeman Health System Sky Camera in Joplin, sitting at 47 degrees. It only feels like it's 41, but that's in stark contrast from where we started off Monday and Tuesday. So we have mid to high 40s right now. By the time recess rolls around for the kiddos on the bus stop forecast, we're talking about hitting into the 50s. Compare that to where we were just 24 hours ago. Look at that, 17-degree bump up in Girard, 15 in Chanute, 14 in CJ. Now, if you remember, if you were with us yesterday, we did have our warmer temperatures down here to the southeast, so that's why Aurora and Cassville, kind of their temperature change, negligible. Everybody else just kind of caught up. And a big factor, ridge of the jet stream, now that it's moved from over Denver to up above us in the upper plains, really does control all the weather down to the south. And what it will do is progressively move toward the Great Lakes. That'll allow a couple systems that are lingering out here to make their way toward us and give us some rain for the weekend. Now, speaking of rain, Luckily, the remnants of Iota, just about to push off into the Pacific Basin of Central America, needs a break and needs a break drastically from the back-to-back hurricanes that hit. Remember, you had Eta just 2 weeks ago and then Iota, both of them making landfall as those Category 4s. So very fortunate for us to have a clear Skywatch storm tracker here in the 4 states. As I mentioned before, we're going to go high 60s, low 70s. Keep warming up too on Thursday and Friday. Late Friday night, the rain begins, really more so in earnest on Saturday and Sunday, and then much cooler temperatures, really a taste of normal, if you will, but much cooler compared to where we are now for next week. We'll be back, wrap up this edition of the KOAM Morning News right after this. A couple more comments, and we appreciate your engagement each and every morning on the KOAM News Now Facebook page and our morning Insta poll. Thomas Montfort writes, "Bring them home. We are not and cannot be the world's police. We've been there 19 years with no real results, just like some politicians have been in office 47 years with no results." Rocky Cunningham says, "I am and always will be extremely proud of Mr. Trump's success and accomplishments. That being said, time to leave things alone and try to maintain a little integrity to his legacy. Just savor the flavor of having been an amazing president despite the Dems' interference." I like how little Rocky finished it. Come on, man. You know the thing. Morning Insta poll results. It's gotten a little interesting here in the past 10 minutes or so. 44% of you right now say keep it the same. That was sitting about 55% for most of the show. And now we've got 35% saying withdraw all the troops. Once again, we keep it open each and every morning for you. KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. Tanya?
All right, here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. Officials around the country are sounding the alarm about the latest coronavirus surge. A record 73,000 people were hospitalized with COVID-19 on Tuesday. More cities and states are limiting indoor gatherings and enacting stricter rules for wearing masks and social distancing. Mercy and Freeman officials say they're becoming overwhelmed with COVID-19 patients, and now health officials are calling on city leaders for a mask mandate to try to get things under control. Jasper County Health Department says in the past 7 days, they've averaged 81 new cases per day. Yesterday, the country reported 5 more deaths. Based on data and hospital resources, experts say something has to change, especially with the holidays approaching. Well, some Missouri legislators want to extend COVID-19 liability protections. If passed, the bill would protect healthcare providers from lawsuits unless there is malicious or intentional misconduct. It would also shield businesses and product manufacturers from claims unless a plaintiff can prove the company had knowledge a product was effective. President Trump has fired the official who oversaw national election security. Christopher Krebs headed the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, which last week called the 2020 election the most secure in American history. Krebs responded to his dismissal in a tweet, writing, quote, "Honored to serve. We did it right." That's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
Windy and dry, and you combine those 3 things and it makes for elevated fire risk on Wednesday. Overnight, winds really don't want to die down too much till tomorrow. Feeding us warm temps though. High 60s, low 70s today, and then consistent 70s on Thursday and Friday. A little rain coming at us, much needed rain. Get us out of this fire weather over the weekend.
Coming up today at noon, we're making General Tso's chicken in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen.
Of course, your morning news continues on KOAM, CBS Morning News, coming up next.
Or you can switch on over with us on Fox 14, where your only local morning news continues. And that's where you find our own Jesse Irwin.
I tell you what I have found myself doing lately, especially on the news at noon, and when we wrap up this show, is this. I think it's from watching John King on election night. I think subliminally it got into my head.
I have to raise my hands high enough so
right,
you can
if
see
I only had a touch screen. All right, that wraps it up for this Wednesday. I see what you did there. Wraps it up for this Wednesday. Have a great, safe day. We'll do this all again tomorrow morning.
And we're going to do it again with this guy.
Ready for a
today.
package deal? Roper Honda's got it. Trade into a new Honda with 0 down, 0% financing for 6